So thank you so much for attending today. This is the third session I've done of these, and I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I've got lots of good feedback. So I'm wanting to continue to do more of these once or twice a month, and just be able to have people come together and help each other be more mentally well. Because mental wellness is something that's mental health has been something that's very close to me, and I've had bouts of depression and anxiety in the past, and so just really really want to be able to help people, especially through going COVID and the amount of stress that's happening. I think this is hopefully people find this helpful and to be able to have a resource like this to be able to access. So and on that note around stress, the Gallup did a study from 2020 to early 2021 to find out the mood of the world, and not surprisingly, they found out that the world is quite stressed out during the pandemic. So they found in that study that 4 in 10 adults said that they had experienced worry or stress during that period of time, and also found that 1 in 4 or more experienced sadness or anger. So there's various emotions that are coming up to do with the pandemic, and you may have experienced it yourself with the various things that were going on around the pandemic and happening. And ultimately, what they found is that the year 2020 was the world was sadder, angrier, more worried, more stressed out. It was a more stressed out place than it had been in the last 15 years. So 2020 has been hard on everyone around the world in a variety of different ways, based on the situation, the experience that we've been put into. And so today, what I want to do is talk about anger, and don't worry, I'm not going to have participants. You're not going to have to be on camera being angry or doing any type of exercise where you have to be loud or anything like that. There is exercises that I've done that work really well to do that, but we're not doing that today. So just today, there's really the way that you're going to be able to work through anger is going to be on your own, and you can have your mic muted, and then if you want to share after we're done some exercises, I open the floor up for anybody that feels open to sharing, but there's no obligation at all. Okay. So the one thing I wanted to start off with is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you deal with anger? And so 1 being you don't deal with it at all, 10 being that you've got some amazing skills and you know how to work through anger in ways that you've been able to learn and adapt and move through it. And feel free to share in the chat if you're open to it. Where do you fall on that scale? We got a 6.
Where do you find this thing? Probably an 8.
Yeah. So if we look at this scale, what I find when it comes to people dealing with anger, if we want to simplify it, we can put them into 4 areas. And so the red area there is what I call the status quo mindset. So these are individuals that it is what it is. They have no interest in changing the way that they deal with anger. They don't see or feel that there's any solution to how they deal with anger, and they may actually have challenges with dealing with anger, and they can be quite expressive, but they're just following the status quo. They just believe that there's no ability to change their approach to it and how they deal with it. And then the yellow zone there is more of the planner mindset. So these are individuals that they're starting to recognize that there's an issue, that maybe they're possibly there's some road rage happening, and their reaction on the road when they're in traffic is heated. They may be finding that they're reacting to people at work or at home, and maybe people are giving them feedback. And so these are people that are open to exploring options, or maybe reading books, watching videos, looking for resources. They're not necessarily doing anything yet, but they're open to learning. And so it's more of that planner mindset, and at least being open that, okay, I have an issue with anger. I need to start to work on it and find ways to do that. And then the action mindset individual is somebody who's taking action. So they're signing up for courses. They're maybe going to support groups. They're seeing a coach or a counselor. They're actually taking action and wanting to learn ways to improve how they deal with anger. And they're very action focused. So they have maybe like a checklist of, okay, this is what I've learned I need to do. And they're going through that checklist on how to do that. And so not fully connected to perhaps the full scope of the relationship they have with anger, but it's, I have a problem, I want to get it solved. And they're just pushing, or accessing whatever resources they can to do that. And then the final group is more of the thriving mindset. So these are where people get to a place where they recognize that that anger, there's more underneath the anger, that they're actually looking at it from a different viewpoint, and gaining different insight and recognizing, their responsibility to the anger, and they're able to respond when other people are angry. It doesn't trigger them, or if it does, they contain it and then work through it on their own. And they're, in addition to learning how to deal with anger, they've come to a place where they really have changed the way they view it, and are actually at a point where they can actually they're actually inspiring and getting other people curious as how are you doing that? How are you able to handle that situation in such a calm manner, and not be reactive? Okay. So so as far as today, what I want to do is explore this scale, and because what I love to do is I love to help people that are in the yellow and the green zone. The 9 to 10 I call the super green zone. So the middle zones, the yellow and the green, are people that they're open to it, they're taking action, and they want to get to that thriving mindset when it comes to anger. And so I love working with people that are in those middle 2 zones, and working with them to get them to that point. And so that's what we're going to start to work on today. In today's session, I want to help you understand a tool that can help improve your relationship with anger. And this is something you can do on your own and be able to take away today, and be able to start to use. And then also what I want to be able to give you an opportunity to do is actually experiment in using the exercise today on your own. And so this is one thing that I've been really focused on in these sessions I've been doing, because I've been in a lot of lunch and learn sessions virtually over the last couple of years, and a lot of it's just been someone speaking the whole time. And so what I set up my sessions for is 80% of the time I want the participants to be working on something and actually learning something and applying it and being able to do that. So that's what I really want to do today. After I go through a couple more slides, we're going to get right into the exercise. And my hope is that you're going to gain some insight into your relationship to anger, and maybe learn something that you hadn't recognized before, that can help you with when anger shows up again, and then be able to integrate it. So just to consider how can you start to integrate this simple practice into your life, into your work, on a regular basis. Any questions before I continue? Just want to check in with everybody.
Good.
Perfect. Okay. So I just want to share a bit about my journey with anger and mental health, just to kind of set the stages to, and part of the reason is just to show you why am I doing these sessions? Why am I here? Why am I wanting to help people in this area? And this is a picture of me in 2012. Sorry, 2012. I had an extra 20 there for some reason. So in 2012, I'm smiling there, but there's a lot going on inside of me. This is at a townhouse that I owned with my ex-wife at the time, and that year it was the one of the darkest times from my dealing with depression perspective. I was in a high pressure sales position, and I wasn't able to see past the pressure of being in sales, and not hitting the performance goals that they had set out for me, and was struggling around that. And then the relationship I was in at the time was falling apart. And my oldest son at the time was 2 years old, so I was dealing with the implications of that and what that's going to look like. And in this townhouse, I literally was in the basement one evening on my computer trying to find the answers as to why do I keep going into these times where I'm completely overwhelmed with anxiety. I don't feel like I can, getting up in the morning and just making breakfast or making dinner time just feels like a big struggle for me. And I was seeing therapists and reading lots of resources, but just was not able to get past it, because a lot of the counselors and the therapists I went to at the time, I would go and see them for 3 to 6 months. I'd start feeling better, and a lot of times they'd prescribe some medication, and then that would help me for that 3 to 6 month period. I'd be feeling fine, and then I'd stop going to the therapy sessions and eventually kind of titrate off the antidepressants, and then within another 6 months I was back in that cycle again. And so in that basement, this is a basement, a dark basement, no windows. We had just moved into this townhouse, so there's boxes. It's kind of a messy room, and I was just really stuck in myself. And I just finally came to the realization, because I've been journaling a lot, and I just realized that I got to stop saying, "Why is this happening to me?" And I recognize that I need to focus on, what is this for? Is there a gift in this? Is there a reason why I'm going through this? And that helped me start to get out of that place. And I started to find, after I had that perspective, I found actually a therapist that looked at my depression differently. And I'll talk about that in a bit here. And I was able to connect with people that had resources and approaches to depression and anxiety that I hadn't really heard of before, hadn't seen it before. And so it just shifting that perspective really helped me. And so today, I want to go through and share more about that with you, because now today I'm a mental wellness coach. I do speaking engagements, training. I'm author of the book that's listed there, Engage, Connect, Grow. And I'm on this mission to really enrich and support the mental wellness of sales and service professionals, of 1 million of them by 2026. And the reason why I have sales and service professionals there is because I've been in those types of positions, and I know the pressures that can come up with dealing with clients and having these sales targets, and the targets don't go away, and they typically go up if you exceed them or if you hit them. So there's always that underlying pressure that can be there, and if you don't have the right mindset in place, then it can be tough. It can be challenging when things aren't going and the performance isn't where it should be, right? And I love this quote by Carl Jung, is a famous psychologist, and this really speaks to what we're going to be doing today. Is who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And that's what a lot of the work that's helped me is to go inside myself versus just taking a course or reading a book and trying to solve a problem that I was having, but more looking at really what's going on inside of me that's impacting my anger, that's impacting my mental health, and that. Okay, so that's what we're going to step into today. And a big part of that is around this healing power of journaling. And have any of you had experiences and seen the benefits of journaling before? I'll just throw it out there. You can type in the chat if you... Or you can come off mic if you want. Because there's phenomenal benefits of the use of journaling. And I actually mentioned Dr. James Penbaker in my book, because he's found and he's created this field of expressive writing. And he found that writing out your challenges and even your wins in that, and just getting it on paper can actually strengthen immune cells, right? So it's not just mental health; it's actually your biology can be impacted by it. It can it can result in drops in depression and anxiety. It can help with mood and increase mood, help with social engagement, and improve relationships, improve the quality of relationships. And the University of Rochester Medical Center also did a study around journaling and mental health, and they found that it helped with managing anxiety, it helped with reducing stress, and it helped with coping with depression. And so it's such a simple exercise to do, and yet there's amazing benefits that come from it. And it's I've always found it interesting how some of the simple things that we can do actually can have a profound impact on our mental health. And when it comes to anger, and this is something that I learned over time, because when I started seeing that therapist back in 2012 there, that therapist started me to help me look at anger differently and recognize that I needed to explore my relationship to it. And I recognized I didn't have a very good relationship to it. I really focused on avoiding it, because I grew up, being the diplomatic person, just avoiding conflict as much as possible, and trying to make everybody happy. As kind of became my focus. I didn't want to have anybody upset, and ultimately the result of that is the anger that I had. There's all this other stuff going on underneath it that I kept pushing down. And so there's overwhelm, there's nervousness, there's exhaustion, feeling annoyed, being stressed. There's worry, there's grief, there's sadness. There's all these other emotions that are underneath the anger. So really, anger is this surface emotion that ends up blocking other things that we may believe that we're not supposed to feel. And that was my experience anyway. All right. And the thing that my counselor shared with me that really opened my eyes was, she said to me, "You know what, Aaron, depression can actually be looked at from the perspective that it's anger turned inward." And that just, a light bulb went off for me, because I did clue in the fact that I didn't have a relationship with anger at all, and that I had just been compounding it inside of me for so many years, and not knowing how to express it, and believing that if I expressed it, that something bad was going to happen, right? And so that was where the journey started, is, okay, how do I start to look at exploring that anger, and to be able to get it out, and get it out in a safe way. So I'm not attacking somebody else physically or verbally or anything like that, but it's more around it needs to be felt. And I recognized that I was detached from feeling anger, and also detached from feeling all the other emotions that were underneath it. And so what we're going to do today is look at the right side of the brain, and how to access that side of the brain when working through stress and anger and other emotions. Because we're really good at logic. A lot of us are. I know, myself. That's what I was trying to do in solving. Even emotional challenges would come up as more of a logical type of solution I was trying to find, and not recognizing that accessing the right side of the brain allows us to be more intuitive, more empathetic, looking more at the big picture. And that question that I asked myself of what is this for versus why is this happening to me, was actually me accessing the right side of my brain and looking at the bigger picture as to, is there a gift in this? Is there a bigger reason as to why I'm going through this kind of dark place at this time of my life? All right. And so that's what we're going to work on today. All right. Before I get into this, is what I've called the anger release method. Before I get into that, is there any questions or any insights or anything you want to share about your own experience with anger?
Hey, Aaron, I just thought it was really insightful about anger turned inwards. That's something I hadn't heard before, and I think that's what got me here today as well, just hearing about that in your advertisement for it.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's just a very cool way to look at it. And I also really appreciate the whole, like, just changing the lens to what is this for, not like, we're not necessarily what's the silver lining here, but what's the lesson, or what can I take from it and move forward with it. It's a great
Exactly.
perspective change. So
Perspective change, yes, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah. Bonnie?
I'm curious. One of the things I struggle with is when other people have anger, I don't know what to do with it. And so I noticed I have several sisters, and that the anger comes at us and we actually don't know how to respond. And so, but I was curious how this will all play into it. I know we're working on our own today, but
Yes.
that is one of the challenges I have of what to do with someone else's anger as it comes at you.
Yeah. Well, and what I'd encourage you to do is step into this exercise we're going to do next, and just see if that helps. And if it doesn't, we can explore that a little bit more, because there is some things that I can mention around what things that you can do. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. Okay, so let me go back here. Can you see the slides again? Just want to make sure they're back up. Okay, so this is an exercise that I learned when I took a counseling program through an organization called Clear Mind International, and so they shared with us a couple of ways of releasing anger. One of those ways is more of an in-person. You can do it online as well, but it's more of an in-person where you have a partner, and it's called a 4-step. But then the other way that they shared with us is they said, okay, if you don't have a partner with you and you still want to work through your anger, there's a way to use journaling to do that, and they called it the chart. And I've just gave it a name of the anger release method, just because that's really what we're trying to look at doing here. But this is something that's not my own exercise, but it's what I learned through the counseling training that I went through. And so the first step in the exercise, and so I encourage everybody to have some paper and pen handy. It's ideal if you can write it out. If you have to type it on your computer, that's okay. But there is research that's shown that actually using your hand to write is more beneficial, because you're using more of your visual, your kinesthetic, and your auditory, like all the different ways that you learn in that. But if you have to type it on your computer, it still can be just as effective. But writing it out is the most beneficial from what I've heard. Okay. So what you're going to do is write down on the piece of paper my intention for sorry, that should say doing. Spelling error there. For doing this anger release is. Okay, and just write that statement down and let me know when you've. You can just put your hand up and let me know that you've got that down. And does everybody have something that they can write about with regard to anger right now? Is anybody struggling with, I don't have anything I'm mad about or angry about? Because
or angry at someone else's anger.
that could be, yeah.
Frustrated with somebody being so edgy.
Yeah, you're frustrated, right? You're frustrated, so that's definitely something you could use. Yeah. And I'm just, for those that are watching the recording, if you're like, Aaron, I don't have anything that I'm angry at this moment, just play with the exercise around, go back to a recent time, maybe in the last month or so, week or month, that you were angry or frustrated with something, and just use that and just kind of step into that experience again, and use that for this exercise. Okay. So what I'm going to do is encourage you I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes, and just write for 2 minutes, just write about your intention. Okay. And just try to keep the pen going for 2 minutes, and get everything out as far as what do you want to ultimately accomplish by doing this exercise. And if you're done before the 2 minutes, that's okay. You can just put your hand up and let me know. But try to just write as much as you can, because sometimes the first little bit, if you keep writing, you may actually find that there's more there as far as your ultimate goal that you want to have with releasing the anger. Okay, everybody ready? Okay, you can start. Go for it. So that's step one. Okay, so the next step is, step two is the event. So actually, you're going to be writing about what actually happened. So write about who was there, what happened, where was where did this happen, when did it happen, and so you just want to get the specifics of the actual event. Okay, and I'll give you 2 minutes, but just put your hand up if you're able to complete this step in less than that. It's okay if you are. Okay. Okay. Everybody good with step two? Okay. All right. So you've got your intention of what you ultimately want to get out of doing this exercise. Now you've got the event laid out as to what actually happened, who was there, what happened, where it was, and when. So the next step is your reaction and thoughts. All right. So this is writing about how you reacted. So how I reacted, the thoughts I had, the words I used, the words other people used. And really this is an opportunity to bring out any anger, any frustration, any rage, if there's any rage there, like whatever, like this is the opportunity to get that anger out. And so this is going to be more of that inside voice that maybe you didn't say out loud, or maybe you did. Some people will, but really this is about getting that anger out. So just write down whatever, whatever you were frustrated about, how you reacted to it, and what other people said, and just get all that written out. And any questions on that? Does that make sense? Okay, so we'll do 2 minutes. Okay, so now that you've got essentially the anger, you've expressed the anger out and written that out, and the frustration and what, anything that was going on there. Now, the next step is around step 4 is my feelings. So underneath it all, so you can write this down in a statement on a piece of paper for this step, is underneath it all, what am I really feeling? Okay, and this is back to that iceberg image where you got the anger on the surface, but there's all these other things going on. So what am I really feeling? And some of the examples in that iceberg were, embarrassed, attacked, disappointed, sad, offended, worried. So what am I really feeling is what you want to write about here for the next 2 minutes. Okay. So go ahead and start that step. Okay. So that's step 4. That's really getting to what's going on underneath that anger. Okay. And so the next step is, so you can write this down. What am I making it mean about me? Okay. And you can, so then you can write, I'm believing I am, and these are false beliefs. So these are things that aren't true. So, it could be that I'm not good enough, that I'm stupid, whatever comes up for you that you're believing about yourself that's not actually true in of this experience that's happened. Okay. And if the same thing keeps coming up, just keep writing that out, and just kind of wait and see if maybe something else comes up around that. Okay. I'll give you 2 minutes to work on that. Is that enough time for that one? Okay, perfect. Okay, we'll go on to step 6. So step 6 is, this is just like when. So this is going back to recognizing when the time in my life when this theme started. Right. So this a lot of times with emotional upset, it can actually it's actually a repeat of things that have happened before. And so this is a way to gain insight into this is just like when. And so you're going to spend some time writing about other times in your life, in your past, that you felt the same way as this experience that you went through. Okay, so that was step 6, which was connecting the dots of when is this pattern kind of started. And step 7 is all about the truth. So what really happened when that event happened around this that triggered you and got you angry? So what really happened? What is really happening? What is the truth about myself and the other people that were involved, and the reason that this must have happened? Okay, so is there a reason that you're recognizing of why this has happened? And there's that question that I asked myself: what is this for? And if someone like Mother Teresa or the Dalai Lama or Gandhi was looking at this event that happened in your life, what would they say it's for? So, kind of widening the scope and looking at it from just a compassionate place. And we got the idea when you do this on your own is that you're not finished this until you agree with what you believing that Mother Teresa or the Dalai Lama, etc., would say. So we don't have time to necessarily do all of that today, but spend 2 minutes and just do the best you can and get to as far as you can with this one of what really happened. Okay. Okay, so that's step 7. And what's really going on? What's really happened in this event? Okay. So step 8 is what's a course of action you can take, right? So what would be a demonstration of applying a correction to me, anyone associated with this event, or perhaps those in the past as well? Okay, so if this is an event that's continued to happen, is there something that may need to be happened at the source, right? Or is it associated with the people that were involved in the current situation? Okay, so but this one, don't spend too much time. Like, what is the immediate hit that you get around what you need to do around this? What needs to happen? Okay, so just write that down there. What immediately comes to mind? Okay, so the step 9 is more of something to do, is to write about once you actually take that step. So how do I feel demonstrating this action? Right? So and so this is something you're going to be doing maybe in the next week. Sorry, I've got the wrong bullet point there, but just look at the top point. How do I feel demonstrating this action? So when you do take action, how did you feel doing that? And one thing I'd have you write down is, who is someone you could share? Is there someone in your life you could share when you've taken this step, and just share what that experience was like? Maybe like an accountability partner or somebody that you can just go to and say, hey, I just realized I needed to do this, and this is what it was like for me. Okay. That's when it's around just recognizing what it felt like to demonstrate it. Okay. So if you're open to it, just curious, and these are just some sample questions, but just want to get a sense of how did you feel about doing this exercise before, and how do you feel now? Any lessons, takeaways, insights that you got out of doing this exercise? Any feelings that have come up around it? And if you're open to it, like, what is your action step? If you're open to sharing that, there's no obligation here, but yeah, Bonnie.
I feel that this would be something for me to aspire to practice. It was a very small thing that came up for me on this whole exercise, but I could see if you did it on a regular basis and you practice this, it could be very, very helpful. And I look forward to sharing this insight and information with some of my sisters, because we all have a very similar habit energy
Okay.
around
Yeah.
anger. So
Yeah.
thank you for this.
You're welcome. You could shift things within your family just with this little exercise potentially. Yeah. Sounds like great. Good stuff.
Mm.
Thanks for sharing.
I was thinking of something that, well, I guess sort of felt medium small, not like a huge outburst or anything, but something that created a lot of tension that I kind of felt like I needed to go back and apologize for, but then I decided I was not going to
Okay.
until today, of course. And now I'm like, oh, well, I guess that going back, I'm not good at apologizing. I'm a very justify myself person often because I'm thinking I have the best of intentions. So
Right.
it just uncovered that I've got that uneasy feeling inside because something was awkward and non-harmonious, and by swallowing my huge pride, I can go back and just tweak some things and make those little apologies, and that will just create, it'll be awkward and hard for me, but it will create such harmony and such relief inside of me that I can let go of this thing that I'm carrying. So
Yeah.
well worth it.
And does that connect well with your intention that you wrote at the beginning? Is that all kind of connected as to being harmonious in that? Exactly.
I think so.
Curious if yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that I want to model how to deal with things properly in tense moments rather than, doing it the wrong way or whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
At least learn how to clean up your mess if you can't avoid making the mess, and then learn to avoid making messes.
Yeah, and knowing that messes may happen, and that there's there's ways to work through them. Life can't always be perfect. There's going to be messes that show up, and just how we step into how do we want to experience and move forward with those when those messes show up, right? Yeah. Do you see yourself using this method in other aspects of your life to help with things?
Yeah, these are some great questions to process through a number of different situations. It might be really old, weird stuff that is just like left undone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are lingering there, right? Yeah. It's good just to have that in and know that you can just work through it on your own and go through that process. Yeah. Just to wrap things up here, I just wanted to highlight that there is additional ways that I can provide additional support in addition to these little lunch and learns that I'm doing. In April, I am offering 30-minute mental wellness recharge sessions to anybody that's interested, that's either attending this session or that is watching the replay. And then I'm also in April launching in April 2022 here, launching Mentally Well Together Mastermind. So a group of people can come together and we can do these types of exercises and also share, get an opportunity to share more of our experience of, okay, so I've attempted this anger release exercise. I've gone back and talked to a person that was involved, and maybe it didn't go as planned, or maybe some other things came up. So be able to have a community to go to and be able to talk with around it, and meet, once or twice a month together and have that support there. So if anybody's interested, you can just type in the chat 1, 2, or both if you're interested there, or if you're watching the replay, you can just go in the comments of the video and share which area you're interested in. Happy to reach out and talk to you more about that. So I want to congratulate all of you for attending today and for stepping into this exercise. And those of you that are watching the replay, it takes a lot of courage to step into that zone of even just being in the planner mindset or the action mindset, and coming out of the status quo, because it's amazing how our behaviors can tell us that there's no other solution. And you just doing this exercise shows that you want to look at ways and are open to ways to changing how you respond to different things in your life, and how you want to improve who you are so that you can have better conversations, have better relationships with people at work and at home, and to be able to thrive more in your life. And I'm happy to share the slides and the replay link. If you want to put your email address in the chat, happy to get that out to you, or just put a message in the comments of the replay, or of the session. Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to doing more of these.